Hey, everybody, it's Wednesday morning, 11 o'clock Central. That means this is Brown Bag Lunch, where I bring you whatever I can bring you to enhance the lives of air conditioning technicians. Today, I just want to give a little leadership lesson, a little management lesson for people who are in supervisory roles or management roles in oversight of technicians. There's four basic problems that will show up with a technician that are not directly knowledge skill issues, right? They're more on the human side of it. And so for each of these, I want to just talk about what do you do with them. So as a kind of introductory framework, I want to encourage you, if you're the manager, to kind of create a trigger for yourself that you need to ask the who question, not just the what question. And what I mean by that is that when you sit down or when you stand in front of a piece of equipment or whatever it is you're doing with a technician or somehow problem solving, normally it's people's instinct to go straight to the what. What is the problem? What is the solution? What are we going to do? And not ask the question, who's in front of me and what do they need from me right now? Okay. And I'm not really calling anybody out as a failure for not doing this. It's just, the urgency felt is usually from a customer who needs, they're in a hot room or there's a flooded floor or whatever the situation is. And so the urgency is around getting a problem solved. So, but in terms of training over time and developing people, there's a need for there to be a moment where you just ask the who question. Who's in front of me? What do they need from me? Now you're going to see four things here that need developmental attention. One is if you're seeing insufficient effort and focus, right? The employees, the technicians just doesn't seem to be engaged. They're not seeing what you want them to see, or they seem to have some energy, but they're paying attention to all the wrong things. Okay. So I like this analogy. I use it a lot right now. If this morning when you were driving to the office, if I said, I'll pay you $100 for every red car you see on the way to the office, red cars would jump out at you. Okay. So the point here is that when you're doing this kind of leadership, there's a way to, or that you can kind of figure this out. How do I create a red car dynamic? Let's pay attention to blank, right? I have a client who did this last month. They had one specific thing that they said, every time you walk up to a piece of equipment, pay attention to this, as really a training dynamic of let's learn. We had some failures in this. Let's learn from this. But the idea here is that this is fundamentally the role of attitude. Fundamentally, attitude is not an emotional stance. It is a intentionality towards something, meaning I'm paying attention to this and not that. And when your people are not paying attention to the right things, it's refocusing them. So the intentionality of their focus is on what you need it to be on. All right. So it's an attitude adjustment, right? But by attitude adjustment, I don't mean smile through the pain. I mean, think about, how do I get my people to see the red cars instead of whatever else it is they're paying attention to. Number two, you'll see some effort, but not performing because of unclear expectations, right? Now, anytime that there's an expectation, clarity of expectations leaks. So it has to be reclarified often. Okay. But this is the old, if you've seen some of my content before, this is the old 2 laws of leadership. I'm in charge, but you're more important than me. And when you're establishing an expectation, it's very important that whatever that expectation is, it be objective, measurable if possible, and that you never create support for an employee, for a technician, by lowering the standard. Not ever. However, you do fluctuate your support up so that they meet the standard. So therefore, I'm in charge. This is the standard. I'm in charge means I define, there may be some negotiation, but fundamentally, if I'm the manager, I'm the one defining the expectation. But it's also my job to create a fluctuating upward level of support to make sure that bar they get across that bar. Okay. It is not my job to create an expectation and then walk away. That's bad leadership. It's bad management. Right. So If there's some effort, but they're not performing because of unclear expectations, then you apply the 2 laws: communicating metrics of job performance, and then creating the accountability or whatever other kind of support is needed so they can perform at that bar. Third, sometimes they know the basics, but are not becoming more independent and having, quote, common sense. This is where, you have people who by now they don't really need to call you anymore to confirm if this is the right thing to do, but they still keep doing it. Okay. So when you have someone in this next phase of development, the key here is to answer questions with a question. Okay. So, the most difficult question is someone who calls you as a supervisor or a manager and says, "What do you think I should do?" That's very difficult to answer because you'd have to know all the context of the situation. And every service manager knows the frustration of having a technician call, say, what do you think I should do? The manager says, "What are your meter readings?" And they say, "Oh, I haven't put the meter on yet." Well, okay, so get the data collected. And the basic format of these questions is, it spells the word GROW. What's your goal? What's the reality of the situation? What are your options? And which one are you going to do? And so when you're getting questions where you feel like, I don't think you need to be asking me this question, I think you already know the answer for whatever reason, then answer a question with a question. What's your goal? What's the reality of the situation? What are your options? And which one are you going to do? And then fourthly, you'll have people who are able to do the work, but there's not a heart or passion or deep connection to the company there. They're not, if your company name is XYZ Mechanical, they're not XYZ people yet. They're kind of mercenaries, and they're going to go away the first time someone offers them an extra $1 an hour. Okay. How do you create that loyalty? That comes through mentoring, building deep relationships in which values are passed from one to the other. And maybe I'll do another one of these some point on the details of mentoring. But what's required is that someone is receiving some guidance from you. They perform when the heat is on while you're watching, and they feel this moment where they've just demonstrated their skills with you, that they've shown themselves competent on some level. And in that moment, and they have to have been shown as competent exactly while you were watching. What I'm talking about doesn't work if you weren't there. So when that happens, a little window opens and you can communicate a core value, and it sticks, and they generalize it from there to everything else. So, something like, okay, we got this machine going again, this unit going again. The room is cooling down. They did it, but you were there and saw it. And they turn to you, and it's kind of like, ta-da. And your response is, see, this is why it's time. This is why it's worth the time and effort to take the time and effort to do it right the first time. Okay, that's a value. And when that moment happens, you're passing your company's values from you to them, and they're going to receive them, and they will then apply that concept to that situation and others after that. Okay. It's mentoring. It's how you help people to become company people. Okay. The insufficient effort and focus requires attitude adjustment and the red car dynamic. Some effort, but not performing because of unclear expectations. 2 laws. I'm in charge, but you're more important than me. If they know the basics, but they're not becoming independent and developing common sense, then you go GROW, goal, reality, options, which one? And then with able to do the work, but not developing the heart behind it, that's when you get into mentoring and staging moments in which they perform in front of you and you can invest your values in them. Okay. I'm Dr. John Sherk. If you would like to talk about your hiring, recruiting efforts right now for technicians, we are with all systems go, reaching out right now to companies with summer coming. I know it's February still now, but to build out our recruiting machine for you. Basically, we study your workforce, understand why your people work for you, turn that into an outreach effort in recruiting. So you make promises you're already keeping to new people, build you a pipeline, attach a software funnel to your website to house all these referrals and potential hires, show you how to manage that thing and start building out a recruiting machine so that you have a bench to hire from when the time comes. You may want to hire them immediately, or you may want to hire them in 3 months. But when the time comes, there'll be someone there to talk to and not just crickets when you put an ad on Indeed or whatever. Okay? Reach out. We'd love to talk to you more about it. My name is Dr. John Sherk, and we will see you next week.